We humans have been on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. Animals have been roaming around for far longer. Every now and then, we find something shocking here and there, but the place where we tend to make such discoveries the most is buried deep in ice. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome back to our channel. The world was shocked by what they discovered frozen in ice. Let's take a look into it. Number 5. A woolly mammoth cub. Along the coast of Logosyar, Siberia, something rather interesting was found frozen in ice. It was a woolly mammoth cub. The fossil was given the name Yuka, which was based on a village near where it was found. The precise location of where the body of the baby mammoth was buried was about 30 kilometers away from Kondratiev River. It was discovered by Siberian tusk hunters back in 2010, which in the world of science is quite recent. Being responsible citizens, the group decided to alert the authorities, who then contacted the scientific community, which of course was eager to get their hands on such a piece of history. As you would think, the curious scientists put their blood, sweat, and tears into finding out more about the mammoth cub. This went on for 2 years, and when they thought they had done enough research, they stored the carcass in a freezer before transporting it to Russia, where it could be looked into further by other scientists who were also curious about it. Currently, what we know about Yuka is that she was around the age of 6 to 8 when she kicked the bucket. The lacerations on its body indicate her getting attacked and killed by some more dangerous predator, perhaps a big cat. However, this is nothing more than mere speculation. As of right now, Yuka is sitting in a museum. She is regarded as a frozen mammal that is in the best condition out of all frozen mammals we currently have. Believe it or not, there's even some talk going on about cloning her in recent times. That's right, it isn't long before we can see an animal from way back in the past with our own 2 eyes. It sounds all too familiar to a certain blockbuster movie that we all watched growing up, eh? Number 4. Glacier Girl. On June 15, 1942, during the time when the Second World War, which is also when the planet was being turned upside down by countries that wouldn't erase their enemies off the face of the Earth, 6 Lockheed P-38s were given the order of making an emergency landing in Greenland. The reason this happened was due to the fact that the weather was very turbulent, way too turbulent for any planes to fly. Although the pilots who were flying the P-38s safely went back to base, the planes were left there, and as you would expect, it didn't take long for them to be completely covered and then buried deep in the snow before being lost in time. About 5 decades later, in 1992, to the whole world's surprise, one of these 6 aircrafts was recovered. It was literally dug out by excavators. This might sound hard to believe, but by the time this excavation project took place, the planes were already almost 300 feet under the ice. It took years upon years for them to finally get their hands on the abandoned plane. The interesting story, which the plane was a central part of, made the Greenland Expedition Society, which recovered the plane, name it the Glacier Girl. The aircraft was then transported to Kentucky, where it was examined from snout to tail by experienced mechanics, who then actually restored it so well it became fully functional. It soared the skies for the first time after its half-a-century-long slumber in 2002, and it was bought by the billionaire CEO of Lewis Energy, Rodney Lewis, in 2007. Sadly, the remaining 5 planes were nowhere to be found. Perhaps the day might come when, with new and improved technology, we will be able to recover them as well. Number 3. The Children of Lulailako. This shocking discovery, made in ice, was pretty grim to say the least, so squeamish viewers should probably fast forward this part. The Children of Lulailako were found by Johann Reinhardt and his team in 1999, not far from the summit of Lulailako at an ascent of almost 7,000 meters. As their name implies, the discovery made was of 3 human children from the 16th century. They were forced inside a tiny chamber, 1.5 meters deep underground, where they were left to suffocate and die. Upon further research, it was discovered that the children most probably belonged to the Incas, who, as we all know, were big into human sacrifice. One of the 3 bodies was of a girl no older than 13. The remaining 2 were of a boy and a girl, a few years younger than her. The hair left on their body was analyzed, after which it was found that they were made to consume alcohol and cocaine. On the bright side, if there was even such a thing in this case, the bodies of the Lulailako children were preserved with such excellence that they looked as if they could wake up any moment. Out of all the Inca mummies we currently have in our hands, these 3 are some of the best ones when it comes to their preservation. The trio of mummies were given the title of one of Argentina's National Historic Properties in 2001, and currently they're being kept safe and sound in the Museum of High Altitude Archaeology in Argentina. Before we continue, make sure to like the video and hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying it. Also press the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming content. Now let's get back to what we were talking about. Number 2. Otzi the Iceman. Now let's talk about a case of something shocking found in ice that you all have probably heard of at least one point in your life. We're talking about no one other than Otzi the Iceman. The name Otzi comes from where it was found. Mind you, a lot of artifacts or fossils are named after their location. Otzi was found right on the border of Austria and Italy, in a place known as the Ötztal Alps. Otzi was discovered by two German tourists, Erika Simon and Elmquist, who found him at a height of more than 3,000 meters in 1991. Otzi was then sent to the University of Innsbruck, which had a very qualified department of archaeologists. They started to work on Otzi as soon as he got there, and upon investigation found out lots about him. Otzi was murdered. There was an arrowhead stuck in his left shoulder. His whole body was bruised. There were many open wounds on various parts of his body, to which Otzi ultimately succumbed to before being frozen in ice. The University of Innsbruck had Otzi in their possession for approximately 7 years. The Italians claimed that due to the fact that Otzi was found in their country, or at least at its border, they had the right to have him. After this, Otzi was put on display at the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Bolzano, Italy. Being around 5,000 years old, Otzi is the oldest natural mummy that Europe has ever found. He's a human artifact that lets us peek into the European Copper Age, which to some is the most interesting period of human history. Number 1. Jewels from the land of India. It was a tragic day in 1950 when an airplane belonging to an Indian airline crashed. The same unfortunate events repeated in 1966. The death toll of these two tragedies combined was 117. 5 decades had passed since the second plane crashed. A Frenchman trekking the mountain where it occurred came across a rather small metal box. Upon opening it, he was left stunned after seeing that it contained hundreds of valuable stones. Diamonds, rubies, sapphires, emeralds, you name it. It had it all. These stones were packed with satchels which had "Made in India" stitched onto them. This made it clear that the jewels belonged to a passenger who was on board one of the planes that crashed in 1950 and 1996. Now, most people wouldn't care less about who the jewels belonged to or exactly what should be done with them. It would be clear to them to simply take off with them and make some serious profit. But that's not what happened in this case. The individual who found them was one of the very few honest human beings in our world. He very carefully made his way down the peak of the mountain with the box of jewels in his bag and went straight to the authorities with them. After the jewels became news all around the globe, a lot more search operations were carried out in the area where the jewels had been found, so it could come into light who their original owner was. The worth of the jewels is estimated to be somewhere in the ballpark of $300,000 to $500,000. As of this day, the words on the satchels found near them have mostly faded, which is because it was covered in snow for no less than 50 years. There's also a reward set for the person who's able to provide more information regarding them. With this, we come to the end of our video. Here was a look into some of the many interesting discoveries made in ice, with which the world was shocked out of their wits by.